You guys ready? All right, good evening. Call to order the regular meeting of the West Sacramento Port Commission, and to lead us off, actually all commissioners are present. I'm sorry, the commission did meet in closed session. Port Attorney, if you'll report out on.
Yes, thank you. The commission met in closed session to consider approval of a settlement. The action relates to the Omega Chemical Superfund site. So this was a settlement agreement with the U.S. EPA. Under the terms of the settlement, the port will contribute approximately $46,000 towards the cleanup of the Superfund site. And
Right.
the Port Commission approved that.
Very good. All right, thank you for that report out. So to lead us off with the pledge, if you'll do the honors, Commissioner Sandine.
Oh, should we? Salute pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Right. Thank you for that. Item 1A is presentations by the public on matters that are not within the jurisdiction of the commission. I have no slips to speak. So item 2 is our consent agenda, which consists of the September 6th special meeting minutes.
Approval.
Motion to approve and a second by Commissioner Ledesma. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None. That motion carries. That takes us to the regular agenda item 3, which is consideration of a proposed boat club facilities expansion project at the North Terminal by River City Rowing Club and the Lake Washington Sailing Club. Mr. Toft.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Is the PowerPoint up on your screens there? Okay, there, very good. We have a PowerPoint presentation tonight. I'm going to introduce the item. I'm happy to do that. This is kind of a nice follow-on item to the Lake Washington cleanup project, which we completed last year. So I think you've all been down to what we call the boat club area of the port. We have, for many years, decades in fact, hosted 4 boat clubs down there. UC Davis Rowing, River City Rowing Club, Lake Washington Outboard Club, and Lake Washington Sailing Club. And they're all crammed together in about a 2-acre area on this peninsula. And they have no room to really grow their facilities, membership, or public access. And so this is an adjacent, I'll go back to this other slide. Manson Construction leases a 2.85 acre area for storage of pontoons and pipes that's adjacent to the boat club areas, and this is the area that we're going to talk about, proposed expansion. This is what it looks like today, and you can kind of get a glimpse of the water here in a proposed new dock location. So River City Rowing Club and Lake Washington Sailing Club are both here tonight, and they're going to do individual presentations on their proposed project, but they have teamed up and to propose a facilities expansion into the Manson, what is now the Manson Construction Yard. It should show up, on my screen, but on your screen it's the blue area. And they would basically split that area in half, and they've agreed to pay the same rent that Manson Construction is currently paying the port, which is about $3,000 a month. That lease is currently in month-to-month status, so we could terminate that lease with notice fairly quickly, probably by the end of the year. Okay, so that's my last slide. So after the boat clubs present tonight, staff's looking for your comments to, if you decide to kind of greenlight this concept, we would sit down and negotiate long-term leases with both the clubs here tonight, and we're looking for your comments as to what might be included in those leases, not only rent, but any public access requirements, special event provisions, etc. that you might want to see in those leases. And with that, I'm going to introduce George Beery with the Lake Washington Sailing Club, and he's going to go through a few slides, and then he's going to hand it off to Bill Natty with the River City Rowing Club.
Thanks, Rick, and good evening, Commissioners. I'm George Beery with the Lake Washington Sailing Club. I've been a member of the club for about 10 years, and right now I'm serving on the board as his sailing officer. And I hope you can excuse my cough. This is an annual cold I get right at the beginning of school when all the kids come back from school. I want to acknowledge Rick and all his work on the project. We've been working and talking to Rick about this project for a few years now. He's given us a lot of guidance and direction and insight. And we also appreciate all the work he's done on the cleanup of the port, removing the illegal liveaboards and the cleanup of the mess there. We think he's an asset to this city. And thank you for having us here to talk about the proposal. So I know you guys are aware of the long and illustrious history of Lake Washington, but of the Sailing Club, but I just wanted to point out a couple dates. The club was founded back in 1933. In 1935, they built the original clubhouse on the west end of the lake. In 1939, they filed incorporation with the state as a 501c7, which is a nonprofit social club, which a lot of sailing clubs are organized as. From 59 to 60, the club held their events at Lake Natoma and Folsom Lake because of the creation of the port and the Deepwater Channel. And then in 61, they returned, and in 63, the new clubhouse that we still, the new back then clubhouse that we still use today was built. And so we have some pictures here, and you can see that just like today, Lake Washington was active and an important place, very important place to go sailing. The point of these pictures I wanted to point out is that most of these boats in the 50s and 60s were home built. And the idea behind them was to get people on the water and enjoy company, be out with your family, your loved ones, and your friends in a way that was inexpensive and easy to do. And that's what we're trying to recreate at the lake. So we can go to the next one. Today, the club has 186 memberships. So the memberships are family and couples and individual memberships as well as student memberships. So there are more people than 186. 32 of those memberships are West Sacramento residents. And we've done a lot in the last few years to try to advertise more to West Sacramento. We have advertised in the school district website and email. We've been in the Parks and Recreation Summer Guide, and we've even joined the Chamber of Commerce and held a mixer at the lake back in July. The Sailing Club has active racing, cruising, and social events, and we have a whole list of racing events, but I just want to point out every year for the last 15 years we've had an event. We race from the Rio Vista Bridge all the way down to the port. And people come from all over Northern California to take part in that. We have a broad training program. We have a women's-only Learn to Sail class, a co-ed sailing classes. We have 8 weeks of junior sailing camp that we do 1 week in conjunction with the River City Rowing Club, a high school racing team, and we have windsurfing instruction also. That's a new thing we've added in the last few years. We've done some stuff in conjunction with the city. We provide summer camps for the Parks and Rec Camp West, and we've provided windsurfing instruction for the Parks and Rec staff. We provided scholarships for summer junior camp and our high school teams. And there are a couple of things that aren't on here that I just wanted to point out real quick. Every year we do a Scouts Day on the water for the Golden Empire Council, where they get to come out and play on the water. We have an annual open house where we provide free sailboat rides, games and activities for kids, food and information for the general public to learn more about the sport and the club. And then we host the UC Davis sailing team, and this sailing team trains at the lake and also goes out and competes against the Pacific guys like Stanford and Santa Barbara and UC San Diego. So enough about the club. We'll talk about the proposed project now. Here's some photos of the kids in the program. There's kids taking part of the sailing camp and Camp West, and also the women's Learn to Sail program. All right, so here's a site plan. And our part of the proposal is to build the built storage yard right sort of in the middle. And that, thanks Rick, and that would encompass surveying the lot, grading it for drainage, fencing the perimeter, providing a gate, installing lighting, and then using the lot for club storage and rental to club members. And then you see in this site plan also the area that River City Rowing Club would use, and they'll talk to you more about that plan later. And so this is the current condition of the lot, and this is the vision of what it could be. This is what a storage yard for sailboats looks like. This one is up at Inverness Yacht Club at Tomales Bay. And just as a final comment, in researching this presentation, I was referred to the West Sac Master Plan, and specifically the Parks and Recreations element. And the document says that the policies in this section seek to increase public access to the Sacramento River and the Deep Water Ship Channel, to improve water recreation opportunities for West Sacramento residents and visitors. And specifically, Section PR 3.4, titled Water-Oriented Facilities, says the city shall encourage the development of public and private water-oriented park and recreation facilities along the Sacramento River and Deep Water Ship Channel. So I think that the boating clubs have a year's worth of a proven track record in using the public resources that we've been loaned to provide water recreation opportunities. The proposals that we have tonight will expand those public access, and these goals, more public access to the water, can be realized for pretty minimal cost. So thank you again for your time and consideration. And I'm happy to introduce Bill Matt. He's a friend of mine. He's with the River City Rowing Club. And I can probably tell you all the different accomplishments and projects he's worked on over at River City Rowing Club, but I can tell you that almost every time I'm at the club, sailing club for a meeting or to check in on a class, Bill is there working on a project. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you, George.
Thanks for the introduction. Good evening, Commissioners. Thank you for taking the time to hear our presentation tonight. So, River City Rowing Club has been here for almost 40 years, about a third of the time of the sailing club. Our mission is to get people rowing and keep people rowing. We're pursuing this expansion to allow us to keep following that mission. We're simply running out of space. So, Rick, if we can go to the next one. Currently, we have about 240 members, and about 20% of our members are West Sac residents. That percentage has been going up in recent years, and we expect that to continue. As we get people involved in an area, they tend to bring their friends and family. We're actually getting into the schools now a little bit, so we keep seeing that happening. About 2/3 of our membership is women, both at the high school and the adult levels, and that's pretty consistent with other rowing clubs. If we can go to the next, oops, maybe I lost one. All right, go back. All right, we lost one slide. So go to the next one then.
That'll be my bad. Sorry about that, Bill.
All right, no problem. We have a history of giving back to the community. Our largest effort is a program where we take rowing machines to regional schools and teach PE classes. We'll do that for up to 3 days a week or 3 days a year per school. And last year we were allowed into Stonegate Elementary for the first time. We're already scheduled to go back to them again this year. We provide tuition reductions for deserving families and have never had to turn away a junior rower for financial reasons. We also provide 2 small scholarships each year to graduating seniors. And we can go to the next one. And we offer team building and learn to row sessions for local groups. This picture is a session that we did for the city's summer interns this year. Next slide. We've been participating in the coastal cleanup, cleaning along the barge canal and along the Deepwater Ship Channel. We do that every year. And next slide. We also provide gift certificates to local groups as raffle or auction prizes, and we participated in the West Sacramento Foundation's All Charity Raffle for several years. And this year, we actually donated a prize, and I think we're the first nonprofit and recipient of that raffle to actually donate a prize back. We also loan equipment such as canoes and kayaks to the Boy Scouts and other organizations, and we donate used equipment to startup rowing clubs around the area. Okay, so our goals for this project are to just, number one, increase space. We'll be able to run multiple programs concurrently, and we'll be able to grow our club. We're at about 250 members now. We should be able to grow to about 400 or even more with this additional space. It's also going to allow us to increase safety and security for our junior crew. We actually currently lease another site, another location off-site, which causes some confusion for carpools. Where are they dropping the kids off? Where are they picking them up? And on our site, with the juniors in the afternoon, they're competing for space with the trucks and trailers for the outboard club and the sailing club. So they're doing their warm-up exercises in the driveways, in the parking lot, along the road into our location. With this expansion, we'll be able to separate all of their workout activities from the traffic. It's going to allow us to increase efficiency by having 2 docks, 2 locations, 2 boathouses. We'll be able to get on and off the water in about half the time. It's going to allow us to become ADA compliant, and that's something we simply can't do in the existing location. So this is really going to become our main area where we'll do any sort of classes and public outreach. So, and then finally, we want to add a public canoe and kayak membership. We have a number of canoes and kayaks with the associated paddles and life jackets. So we're thinking like a family membership would be $150 a year. They would get a card key and be able to come at any time and take the canoes or kayaks and go out and enjoy the lake. Okay, the next, oh, you already did. All right, so just show you the overall, or George showed you the overall plan for the area. In the lower part of this slide, sort of the bottom of that L, that is going to become a huge lawn, about the size of a football field. So that'll be used for workout space, and when we host regattas, that'll be an area for visiting teams to stage their equipment. And then you can see at the very top of that slide, there will be a new pier and a ramp leading down to a dock. In between those, and we go to the last slide, we're going to put up a picnic shelter that's 30 foot by 60 foot, which is about the size of this area here. So it's a pretty large picnic shelter. We can store boats on either side of the long side. It'll have a roof but no walls. And on either side of that shelter, we'll have a storage container, a shipping container. And one of the containers will hold all of our rowing equipment, the oars and everything. The other one will hold the paddling, canoes, kayaks, and equipment for the paddling membership. So the roof's going to shelter us from the sun and the rain. The containers are going to shelter us from the prevailing winds. So it'll become a very nice space. And with all that, then we plan to be able to rent this space out at times when we're not using it for things like a family reunion or a company picnic, because it could support under the shelter about 100 people. You could use the lawn for games. They'd be able to use the canoes and kayaks to get out on the lake. We think it'd be a real asset to the community and an asset to us. So that's the extent of it. And just as a little teaser, our eventual goal is to build something like this. That's the University of Kansas rowing center. It's, the bottom half can flood, the upper half has all the nicer amenities. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Bill. Are there any questions of Bill or George at this point? Commissioner Paul.
So maybe for both of you, so if 100 West Sacramentans in 2020 wanted to join the rowing club and another 100 wanted to join the sailing club, can they? And what would, I mean, what, or if not, what's your sorting criteria? How do you figure those things out?
They can. We would love to have them.
Yeah, for the sailing club, there's no maximum number right now. All the members bring their own boats from home, and that's one of the things we're trying to get around with the storage yard. And so we could host as many members as possible.
So is there currently a space for any storage for some of the boats, and you want to accommodate more, or?
We store club boats that we use for instruction on the docks,
Okay.
and we in some public spaces, some shared spaces.
Yes.
So this project would help us to remove those boats from the shared spaces and give us more room for landscaping, for picnic areas, and for, like Bill said, to separate the uses of the different clubs.
And then for members, and for some members to store their boats there, or?
The members would store in the yard.
And is there capacity there or for growth, and/or are there procedures for, say your membership became over time 80% West Sac, are you intending to give current members, lifetime rights to parking space in this in the new yard? I mean, how are you thinking about managing that over time?
Sure.
Knowing our interest in district, at least the Port District's residents having maximal access to the
Sure.
water.
So we have 186 members. Most of those members have boats, but many don't. They use the club boats, they rent the club boats. The yard could probably hold easily 300 small sailboats. So if every one of the current members stored a boat there and 132 or 12 new members stored boats there, we'd finally be full. But that would take a long time. We could always set up rules. The rules are, not developed yet, but we could set up rules to give preference to West Sac. I mean, we could do it any way we want to plan it out in the future.
Okay, thanks.
All right, any other comments or questions? Rick, did you have anything you wanted to add? I know this is a workshop format to hear feedback. I guess to start with, I wanted to just, first of all, thank you for coming, gentlemen, thank you. The conversation, at least from my perspective, is a very different one than we were having just a few years ago in terms of access and safety issues and hosting events and participating with the city's Parks Department and the percentage of local residents getting access to the water that once was not very easy to do. So thank you for that, because I know that's been an issue that we've grappled with a little bit here at the Port Commission. And I know that this item itself is only for the rowing club and the sailing club, does not include the outboard club, which I think in the past there have been some challenges of access and limits to how many boats you could have and prioritization and how do you get on and what the waiting list looks like. So that conversation, I think, will certainly continue. But I think this has been in the works for a long time. I mean, these ideas, I think the idea of a new boathouse and a safer place to get in and out has been around at least 20 some odd years from what I can recall, maybe longer, I think. So
Hi, were you going to hop in?
Yeah.
No, step back.
So, thank you both for the update and the briefing on the proposed project, and I really haven't, I know the success of your programs and the people that you're there, and it's pretty evident that you're there almost every weekend, even mornings on the weekdays, and you had ambition to grow, but this was, for me, something that I like the concept and where it's going. I have questions maybe for staff around ensuring there's no conflict of space and that there might be room to grow. But just ensuring from your perspective how the maintenance would go, that's kind of my questioning. How would we, I mean, it's an asset, it'll cost you however many thousands of dollars or whatever to kind of get it built. But what's the expectation by way of ongoing maintenance? And so the port, obviously, this could be a great amenity, but only if it's in good state for an ongoing period of time. I don't know if you have a plan for that.
We maintain all of our facilities now, and we would continue to do so. That's part of our membership fees go to maintenance every year.
Right, the part that, I'm sorry to be more clear, so when you suggest the patio cover is pretty large, and grass area, which will need to be mowed, and tables and recreation possibilities, to keep that sort of, and the rental of such facilities. That's what I'm sort of, because bringing people on for regular rowing clubs is one thing, bringing them out for a family reunion or something else. It's just, I just wonder what your funding plan is to kind of maintain that. Is that through ongoing fees and membership fees? You'll have enough to maintain that?
Membership fees and rental fees. So, we're both nonprofits, and so everything that we get is either to maintain and maintain our facilities, maintain our boats. Our biggest expense is compensation for staff. That's about over half of our revenue. As we grow, we won't grow staff quite as commensurately. We have, 2 full-time directors, and they could easily direct more people. So there's some savings there. But the classes that we teach provide revenue, any sort of rentals provide revenue. So
Yeah, if I could-
it's just like maintaining the docks and the boats and the stuff that we have now.
I could just add, the clubs would be responsible for maintaining the portions of the property that we're under control with. And I just want to add that what we would do is rent out the parking spaces to members, and that would help to fund the programs that we run. And so it would act as a multiplier. We probably put in at least 2,000 hours, because it's mandated as membership, 2,000 hours of volunteer labor. And that is, people go well above and beyond that, and we get the results we get. And so the revenue from the boatyard would actually be a multiplier. That would allow us to do a whole lot of other projects, and to a bigger degree.
And we do something similar. Our members have to provide 10 hours of volunteer service, or 12 hours of volunteer service each year, and many do much more.
Commissioner McGowan?
Yeah, briefly, again, I would echo the welcome and thank you for coming in here. So I only got a couple points, really. One is that I am impressed with the work that you both are doing as far as engaging the local community and getting them involved. And maybe that's the most important issue that I have, and I don't have any specifics or requirements, but I would certainly urge you to continue those efforts. Like working with the parks and recreation is a great idea, and the other things that you do. The more, especially these kids, the more these, West Sac kids, we can get on the water in any capacity, because it's our water. It's their front yard, their backyard, whatever. I actually learned, developed my backstroke and my side stroke in the turning basin before the ship started to come in. I was in just about senior in high school, and I'd go swimming back and forth for something to do. I do remember, by the way, the sailing club when it was on Washington Lake before there was a port, so I go back that far. And so I just urge you to make that as strong of a commitment as you can. And I think that will probably do the most for you to keep us all engaged in what you're doing there, is that we see the direct benefit for our kids and our local folks. But the other thing is that, you know, if you want to go back to the picture of the tees, I'm really interested in seeing that happen before too long. I just think it's a great opportunity to have a boathouse and a activity house and a venue. I can see myself on that top deck with drinking lemonade, watching the younger kids out there rowing. So that's something I'd like to see happen.
We have to develop our fundraising capability first.
Well, I'll probably help you.
We
if you
need a
did.
mentor. I don't know where to find one.
Thank you. Good job.
Commissioner Sandy?
As I look at Bev.
Thanks. No, thanks for the presentation and for sharing the vision and the possibilities with us. I think the port is really fortunate to have the clubs be tenants of ours and also bring folks from outside. Obviously, if 80 and 90% of folks are members from outside, they're coming from outside to the port, so it's actually drawing people here. And of course, I hope that the number of folks close by, and you have, as mentioned, you have done a lot in terms of outreach and bringing the community in. I just had a couple of questions because it occurred to me if, I know you have some open houses which are really great and they're well advertised, but I don't know if you've considered doing like a day pass or doing something else that's smaller than perhaps an annual membership, or just considering the different membership levels. And I also think that there may be some opportunities for us to partner more, for you to partner more with the port or with the city and allow the use for a few days or two in the lease. We did that, the city did that with the barn facility, and I think allowing that or contemplating that, I think would be great to showcase what you do there.
Yeah, I think both the clubs are happy to share the space with the
Great.
city and the port to have events.
Rick, does the reconfiguration of the access, is that part of this project or eventually going to be? I know there was some discussion about creating a more direct access route versus that sort of circuitous.
Yeah, we've completed that actually, so,
It's faster.
Oh, I didn't even know it was already done. I knew it was.
it's done.
Okay.
I was able to get the fire department, which has the training facility here to contribute to that, but we have a direct access now straight down through the harbor entrance into the boat club area. We've resurfaced this upper parking lot with asphalt grindings from the Berth 7 paving project this year. We made some storm drainage improvements here, so no, I think what they've done, and I have to say, they've been very self-sufficient over the years. I've been impressed with not having to really do much out there. So this area here, the gravel road, that as you start to go down into the lower area, they've maintained with gravel. I think, their project would probably regrade that and add some more material. But we've already kind of set the stage on the primary access.
Commissioner McGowan?
Yeah, I'm good. We're just giving direction to staff. I do want to call out Rick and say thanks, good job. And Aaron, I think in consideration for his hard work, you ought to give him the entire day off on December 25th this year.
Thank you.
No
Thank you,
commitments.
Commissioner.
Commissioner Paul?
Yeah, so, no, I don't have any questions for since our negotiations will be done through Rick, not through the dais. But a couple things I wanted to highlight. One is, the future of the port is always an open question. At least it has been since the 50s. And so the notion of long-term leases that have, auto renews in them and stuff like that, I think I want to be very careful about. Even 10 years is a long time, given that we don't have a port operator locked into that period. So we don't know what the future is, and so I'm not going to suggest a time frame, but I don't want to get into a state where we're creating an expectation that we're entering into a permanent relationship in this space. And also to encourage that the investments match the amortization period, right? That the two clubs don't spend $80,000 that they cannot recover over 6 years or 7 years or what have you, as opposed to thinking that they need to finance this over 30 years, because we may not be able to accommodate these uses in this way 30 years from now or 25 years from now. I hope we will. I mean, these are great assets in the community, but we just don't know enough to be able to make those kinds of commitments into the future. So I just encourage staff, as you're looking at these issues, and of course our partners too, to look at these real estate leasing issues in a hard-nosed way around what our capacity is and what the levels of uncertainties are. So now that I'm a professor, I would grade everything. So if the Outboard Club were here, I would be giving them a needs improvement grade. I feel like the Sailing Club is absolutely meeting expectations with respect to public engagement and membership. The Rowing Club is excellent, right? I would hope that as we get further along this term, that all the clubs become much more like the Rowing Club, in terms of aggressively trying to maximize the membership, or if not membership, the participation and the engagement of residents of the Port District in a variety of ways, and having the level of activity that was clear in your slides, Bill, but that is also well known. The cleanups and the other events, the things that have nothing to do actually with rowing or with the site, but it's just we're a core part of the fabric of the community. It says a lot. And I think if you query people in this community and in the rest of the Port District in Clarksburg, they would think of if you ask them, is the rowing club yours? And they say, yes, I've heard of it. I know what it is. My neighbor's in it, or my coworker at UC Davis. It's part of the fabric, and so I would just put that as a marker out there, as a milestone, and to think about potentially if we're going to have a period that has a lease where there are periods where we have the options to renew or whatever, that we set some milestones, that we have this option to renew, but only if that's 50% residents of the Port District by that period, 5 years from now or 10 years from now, so if that's the right number, but that we start to set some milestones that recognize all the benefits that Commissioner Sandina said. We're not trying to keep everyone else out, not by a long shot. There's a lot of value to attracting visitors to the city. I think but we also don't want just folks sort of squatting on our local assets to the effective exclusion of the folks in the parts in the district that have invested in the port itself. So thinking about ways in which we might sort of nudge that along over time while also recognizing the tourism and attraction benefits that Commissioner Sandine has recognized and the work that's involved, right? This is not magic. Even with the rowing club's intense engagement in the community, it's not like you're at 60% either at this stage. Maybe you're on your way.
There's still an awful lot of people that think we're at Lake Natoma. So,
What?
Lake Natoma?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, boo, yeah.
Yeah. So having said, so I'm supportive of it, and I appreciate both
do.
clubs, across the arc of history when there was no interest in government in having recreation at the port, that these clubs, planted a flag, and then have been so active and also responsive to the interests of the district in terms of public access, but also the kinds of facilities and other amenities that are happening at it. It's a real jewel in the city and in the Port District. So it's been a great partnership, and this looks like a fantastic project to move forward with.
Yeah, if I may, Mr. Mayor, I'm glad you bring some of those things up, because it is a reality. We don't know what the future is going to hold for a number of things. And I would simply say it this way, is that as we move forward, to the extent to which you become more and more and more directly identified as being a West Sacramento operation or a benefit or an amenity, even though it's not 100%, I think that's the extent to which you can have a sense of assurance that you're going to be here for a long, long, long time. Because if we have to make some other decisions down the road and we're looking at numbers to us that don't look like, well, what are we getting out of this deal? Then that could lead to a different conclusion, a different outcome for these things. I would like to see both of you, and I do agree with the mayor. I'm glad he mentioned that about the board guys, because I've been on the port commission for a long time, and it was always a challenge. And so, and they had like a lockout period for a while. The folks in West Sac couldn't even join. And so that was no good. So just to the extent to which you become more and more identified with this community and seen as an important part of our recreational and our social structure, I think that's your assurance that we may be building more. We'll find a place for you. But, you know, I think that's some future board or port commission will be looking at. So what's the value to us to have you guys engaged here? So, but you're doing a great job.
Yeah, all right, thank you.
Any other comments, questions? Rick, do you have what you need?
I do, so it sounds like a green light to move forward with negotiating leases, and I will break the news to Manson Construction that we'll be, terminating their agreement, or...
Rick, so how does that get I'm sorry, do you have a question?
Because it's not an action item.
Yeah.
No, just comments that will lead to a future action item. So we would come back to you with leases.
Okay, that's what I
in
was gonna ask.
November, December timeframe.
Okay. All right.
I just want to make sure, my point around asking about ongoing maintenance is, we just, I know from the work in the city that happens, we have facilities or good intention of things being built and on public land, and it's when we get to the ongoing operations and management of it, it's just something we want to make sure we're clear going forward, that whose responsibility that is.
Yeah, we can definitely incorporate that into the lease negotiations, like we do in
Yep.
other deals.
Could I ask just a bold question for the commissioners? Do the commissioners have any negotiating room in terms of the lease terms, in terms of reducing the lease, or are you looking to keep it the same rate that you're receiving from Manson?
You're going to have to ask our negotiator.
Yeah, I think that'll be something we'll start at the staff level. and
No more Mr.
advise the
Nice Guy,
commission.
Rick.
Get a feeling from the commissioners real quick.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So, thank you very much.
It's
Thank
gonna
you,
be
thank you,
okay.
gentlemen. All right. So that takes care of item 3. Item 4, under item 4 is commission reports. Any reports from any members of the commission? Seeing none. Port CEO report.
Nothing tonight, thanks.
All right. So motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion second. All those in favor?
All right.
We're adjourned. Thank you.